I'm a high note hitting songbird. But I'm also a bird-watching backpacker.
Oh, wood thrush, 3 o'clock.
Walmart has a wellness side too, with tons of things I need to feel good. From electrolytes to help keep me hydrated, to soothing cough drops for after every show.
Oh, man. How about waterproof boots? Size 10?
They've got 500 million things online, on the app, and in store.
Really? Who knew? Okay, was that you or the birds?
Check out the wellness side of Walmart today.
Whether you're gifting, decorating, or treating yourself, Lowe's December deal drops are here to help you save more all month long. Get up to 50% off select holiday decor. Plus, get up to 45% off select tools and accessories. Shop new December deal drops every week this month and get so much more out of your holidays. Lowe's, we help, you save. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
And away we go, episode 1212 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, December 5th, 2025. It is the 2-month anniversary of the Washington Commanders' last win. The 27-10 win at the Los Angeles Chargers on October 5th. Yes, it has been 2 months since the Commanders last won a game. Would you on October 5th have ever thought that we would go 2+ months until the team's next win? 7 consecutive losses in a 2025 NFL regular season gone horribly wrong as we have the 3-9 Commanders at the 4-8 Minnesota Vikings this Sunday afternoon at 1. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Happy Friday. Coming up on the show, in-depth preview of Commanders at the Vikings. Next segment, reaction to quarterback Jayden Daniels fully practicing for the first time since suffering his dislocated left elbow. More good news on receiver Noah Brown. Thoughts on safety Darnell Savage asking to be released by the team, and discussion of some very good comments by offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury on right tackle Josh Conerly Jr., left tackle Laremy Tunsil, and right guard Samuel Cosmi. We'll then do a deep dive on the Vikings as we'll speak with fantasy football expert and Minnesota Vikings media personality Paul Charchian. Charch is great. I know that many of you are familiar with his work. Very well informed, sharp opinions, terrific sense of humor. Charch will give us tremendous perspective on the state of Vikings football operations, the struggles of quarterback J.J. McCarthy, the proper way to view the tenure of you-know-who with the Vikings, and more. I'll then conduct my rhyming keys for Commanders at the Vikings. Rhyming keys with some nuance as we are in the midst of Operation Lose Out 2.0, and I'll give you my prediction for the game. And also on the show, college football, Goldilocks picks and previews for the 2 conference championship games involving teams of the Mid-Atlantic region. Number 17, Virginia versus Duke at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday night at 8 in the ACC championship game. And number 25, James Madison, home to Troy, Friday night at 7 in the Sun Belt Conference championship game. How likely is JMU and not UVA making the college football playoff? Additionally, I have some thoughts on terrific recruiting developments from Maryland and Virginia Tech this week. And on the show, we'll discuss our Washington Wizards. They on Thursday night fell to 3-18 in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season with a 146-101 loss to the Boston Celtics at Capital One Arena. A 45-point loss. When we talk about the Wizards being a rebuilding and tanking team, what happened on Thursday night is a reminder of them being a rebuilding and tanking team. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Michael on his loyalty to this podcast. Writes Michael, the Al Galdi podcast got my top spot more in my hashtag Spotify Wrapped. Thank you very much for that, Michael. Yes, it is that time of year. Spotify Wrapped season. If you on X, send me a photo of this podcast ranking highly for you via Spotify Wrapped. I will gladly repost what you send me. And as always, thank you for listening to the podcast. Email from Jason Chestnut Jr. on his experience at the Commanders' 27-26 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this past Sunday night. Writes Jason, what's up, Goldie? Excited to say I am a regular emailer of this podcast. Whenever my email makes the podcast, I always show all my friends and family, and they really enjoy it. My dad got a kick out of me remembering him saying that he'd never take me and the fam to FedEx Field because the place was a dump, and telling you about that last year. And of course, we convinced him to take our family again for the Broncos game. We even tailgated and ended up bringing a group of 20 full of our family and friends. We had such a great time that going to Northwest is going to become a family tradition. We bought the tickets earlier in the year, not knowing how injured we were going to be. You take week one lineups for each team, and it looks like a good game. Now, true, you can't assume that all players in week one will be there this deep into the season, but you also never could have guessed that for almost about the whole season, our team is so hurt that the injury reports for every game look like CVS receipts. Injury luck can't possibly get worse next season. So despite this loss, I feel good about this team going into next season. This team showed excellent fight, and the energy of this team was different. Mariota played out of his mind. I always get PTSD when I see the number 8 in these Redskins uniforms, especially when Mariota threw that bad pick. Gave me a quick PTSD attack, reminding me of you-know-who. But Mariota, for the most part, played amazing. We win that game with JD5. Not even mad at the loss. It was respectable and not a blowout for once. I hope if we continue to lose, that we lose in a respectable way. But ultimately, I want a top 10 or better pick. We need depth bad. You know how much I love Terry from previous emails, my favorite Redskin of all time, so seeing him play and do well was so satisfying for me, especially because I also play wide receiver, even got me a Super Bowl-era Terry McLaurin jersey just for this game, and after years of name-changing and rebranding, I finally looked and felt like a Washington Redskins fan again. For me, Sunday night was not about the W. Sunday night was more about the Chestnut family reunion, enjoying the tailgating food with my friends and family, and seeing my favorite player, Scary Terry, do well, even though his snap count was driving me crazy. Goldie, thank you so much for all that you do. You make being a Redskins/WFT/Commanders fan a lot easier when times get tough, and hopefully next season we go make a run at the big game. Best wishes moving forward. Well, thank you very much for that email, Jason. Very happy to hear that you and your family had a great time at the game. Commanders fans deserve a medal for their work this season. You know, we never really talked about this, but Commanders fans represented big time for the team's game in Spain, the 16-13 overtime loss to the Miami Dolphins in Madrid on November 16th. I was told that Commanders fans were everywhere in Madrid for that game. I actually had the pleasure a few hours after the game of getting a FaceTime call from a bunch of guys who I went to high school with who had gone to the game and were at a bar in Madrid. And it was great talking to those guys. Now, how all of those guys got through customs, I do not know, but that's another conversation. But Commanders fan representation in Spain was really strong. It was really cool to see that. Email from Redskins fan on the Commanders' many, and I mean many, pending unrestricted free agents, writes Redskins fan. What's up, Al? I've seen something about that there are a lot of expiring contracts this season. What do you think about that? Now, this is the second season that we have people on short contracts. Some of those players we traded for. Now, if they walk away, those draft picks would have been more valuable, right? And if we overpay, we are the fools, right? So now, if next season the roster isn't solidified, is that still Ron's fault? I feel like it has been on Adam Peters and talent evaluators from day one. Are there any players who got their walking papers who you miss, like Cam Curl or OZ? Thanks for the email, Redskins fan. The Commanders, to me, absolutely could use safety Cam Curl and receiver Olamide Zaccheaus. Curl left 2 off seasons ago. He, in March 2024, signed as an unrestricted free agent with the Los Angeles Rams. Zaccheaus this past March signed as an unrestricted free agent with the Chicago Bears. Neither guy got big money. Now, how much of each guy leaving was the Commanders not truly wanting him versus him wanting to leave is hard to say. But given our team's problems at safety and receiver this season, heck yeah, they could have used Curl and Zaccheaus. Cam Curl for this regular season has an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 70.5. That's good. 60 is average. Olamide Zaccheaus for this regular season does not have great stats, but he, in the 2024 regular season, played in all 17 of the Commanders' games and on 42.48% of the team's offensive snaps. He had 45 receptions for 506 yards and 3 touchdowns on 64 targets, and he was known as a tough, physical, try-hard player. He was a good player for our team last season. Olamide Zaccheaus, OZ, a product of the University of Virginia. And yes, a ton of key Commanders players are set to be unrestricted free agents this coming offseason. On offense, quarterbacks Marcus Mariota and Josh Johnson. Receivers, Deebo Samuel Sr., Noah Brown, Treylon Burks, and Chris Moore. Running backs, Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols. Tight end, Zach Ertz. Left guard, Chris Paul. Offensive tackle/guard, Andrew Wiley. Offensive tackles, Trent Scott and George Fant. On defense, interior defensive linemen Eddie Goldman and Sheldon Day. Edge defenders Dietrich Wise Jr., Von Miller, Jacob Martin, Preston Smith, Jalen Holmes, and Drake Jackson. Linebacker Bobby Wagner, and cornerbacks Jonathan Jones, Noah Igbenogany, and Antonio Hamilton Sr. And on special teams, punter Tress Way. You got all of that. A lot of key Commanders players are set to be unrestricted free agents this coming offseason. Hey, do not waste time this holiday season worrying whether your financial transactions are safe. You this holiday season can stay one step ahead of scams and keep your money secure with Cash App. Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps detect and alert you for unusual card activity should someone gain access to your card so you can act fast if something seems off. You also can lock or unlock your Cash App card instantly right in the app for extra control and peace of mind. And if you're about to send money to someone for a deal that's too good to be true, and Cash App flags the deal as a potential scam, Cash App will warn you before you send the money. Cash App is here for you, and for a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use Cash App's exclusive code to earn some additional cash for real. Just download Cash App. Use the exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
I'm a high note hitting songbird, but I'm also a bird watching backpacker.
Wood thrush, 3 o'clock.
Walmart has a wellness side too, with tons of things I need to feel good, from electrolytes to help keep me hydrated to soothing cough drops for after every show.
Oh, man. How about waterproof boots? Size 10?
They've got 500 million things online, on the app, and in store.
Really? Who knew? Okay, was that you or the birds?
Check out the wellness side of Walmart today.
While the Who's of Whoville laughed and made cheery, the Grinch hatched a plot to make their season more dreary. Dill pickle seasoning on fries, knitted Argyle stockings. That'll sure make for a shocking unboxing. The new Grinch meal, now at McDonald's. At participating McDonald's while supplies last. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hey, if you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review can be just a sentence or two, but the reviews help out the podcast a lot. Thank you for doing them. Could it just be that Washington Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels is going to play in the team's game at the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday afternoon at 1? He, on Thursday afternoon, fully practiced for the first time since suffering the dislocated left elbow that has caused him to be inactive for each of the Commanders' last 3 games. He on Wednesday afternoon was a limited participant in practice. Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, during his pre-practice press conference on Wednesday afternoon, said that Daniels still had not been cleared for contact, but left open the possibility for that to happen late in the week. Quinn did not speak to reporters on Thursday, is due to do so on Friday. We have arrived at late in the week. Friday could be a big day regarding the status of Jayden Daniels. We shall see. Also, receiver Noah Brown, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice for a second consecutive day, so he remains on track to be back. He has missed the Commanders' last 10 games off being listed as dealing with groin and knee injuries. The Commanders on October 15th announced having placed Brown on the reserve/injured list. They on November 24th announced having opened the 21-day practice window for Brown. And offensive tackle George Fant, he on Thursday afternoon was a limited participant in practice due to a knee. He was not on the injury report for Wednesday afternoon's practice. On defense, linebacker Bobby Wagner, he on Thursday afternoon did not practice for a second consecutive day, this due to a knee issue. Linebacker Frankie Louvu on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice, this off him on Wednesday afternoon being a limited participant in practice. He's dealing with a shoulder ailment. Interior defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice, this off him on Wednesday afternoon not practicing. He's dealing with a back problem. Interesting development with edge defender Drake Jackson. The Commanders on Thursday afternoon announced having activated him from the reserve/injured list on which he was placed on October 16th, one day after the Commanders signed him as an unrestricted free agent. Now, him being put on the list reportedly was a pre-planned move. The Commanders on November 13th announced having opened the 21-day practice window for Jackson. Time was running out for him to be activated off that list. He was activated off the list, but he on Thursday afternoon did not practice for a second consecutive day. He's listed as dealing with knee and groin injuries, so it would appear as if he is not ready to play. And the corresponding roster move to the Commanders activating Jackson was them releasing safety Darnell Savage. Savage, for the 27-26 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this past Sunday night, was a healthy inactive. Was surprising to see that. He reportedly asked to be released. He wants to play, and unless there were behind-the-scenes issues, I mean, that is understandable, right? You want to play, let the guy go, no hard feelings. So his time with the Commanders ended up lasting for 2.5 months, so the Commanders on September 22nd announced having signed Savage as an unrestricted free agent. This is his age 28 season. He on September 16th was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars, who in March 2024 signed him to a 3-year contract as an unrestricted free agent. Darnell Savage, he was taken by the Green Bay Packers with the number 21 overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft out of the University of Maryland. He played for the Packers for the 2019 through 2023 seasons. And on special teams, long snapper Tyler Ott, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice for a second consecutive day. Ott, as you may recall, was inactive for the overtime loss to the Broncos due to a back ailment and illness. For the Vikings, their QB1, J.J. McCarthy, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice for a second consecutive day. He did not play in the Vikings' last game, the 26-0 loss at the Seattle Seahawks this past Sunday due to a concussion. The Vikings starting quarterback for that game was undrafted rookie Max Brosmer. McCarthy is expected to start against the Commanders this Sunday afternoon. Commanders offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury, he on Thursday morning did a pre-practice press conference. The best stuff from the Kingsbury presser by far was what he said about various starting offensive linemen. So the offensive line is coming off an outstanding performance in the overtime loss to the Broncos, and the line is ascending to where it's now in the upper half of the NFL in ESPN's win rate metrics. So the Commanders this past Sunday night, per the NFL's Next Gen Stats, held the Broncos to a pressure rate of just 17.9%. That was the Broncos' lowest pressure rate in a regular season game since their 70-20 loss at the Miami Dolphins on September 24th, 2023. And the Commanders for this regular season through Week 13 were number 15 in the NFL in ESPN's pass block win rate and were number 13 in the NFL in ESPN's run block win rate, and especially showing improvement has been rookie right tackle Josh Conerly Jr. Conerly, this past Sunday night, per the NFL's Next Gen Stats, in 26 pass blocking matchups with edge defender Jonathan Cooper, allowed 0 pressures. Conerly for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 76.9. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. We on Thursday morning had this exchange between Donna Hopkins of Pro Football Plus and Kliff Kingsbury.
Hey, Coach. The offensive line, it seems like that they really are gelling right now. But could you talk about Josh Conerly and what you've seen out of him in this late part of the season?
Yeah, I'm really impressed by the resiliency. Early on, faced some really talented rushers and, had some tough moments, which all rookies do. But he's continued to work hard, hasn't got his head down, and just battled his tail off the entire season. And so you're starting to see some of the benefits of those reps, and even the tough reps you learn from, you become a better player. And so I've been really impressed by the work ethic and just the mental toughness that he's displayed this season.
Well, the Commanders' best offensive lineman this season has been left tackle Laremy Tunsil. He has been as good as advertised. The Commanders this past March 15th announced having traded a second-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, a third-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, a fourth-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, and a seventh-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft to the Houston Texans for Tunsil, and a fourth-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Commanders gave up a good bit of draft capital for Tunsil, no doubt, but he has been really good. Tunsil, for the NFL's Next Gen Stats, in 28 pass blocking matchups with Broncos edge defender Nick Benito this past Sunday night, allowed just 2 pressures. Tunsil for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 75.4. He, for this regular season, has an overall grade per PFF of 83.2. He is playing like a franchise left tackle. We on Thursday morning had this back and forth between Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post and Kliff Kingsbury.
Kliff, what sort of impact have you seen from Laremy Tunsil overall this season? I know he has a history of playing well, but now that you've seen him up close on a day.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. More than I could have ever expected, I'd say. Just the type of person, the type of character, the way he works, the way he leads the young guys. I mean, it's been phenomenal. And the play speaks for itself. You'd be hard to find one that's played better at that position this season. So he's going to get a lot of money.
And I know you spoke about Josh Conerly earlier and how he's played. How helpful do you think it's been to have a tackle like Tunsil to help?
It's been phenomenal. It's been everything. I think especially early with some of the tough times, he was very open with kind of his struggles on the field and how long it took him to develop and play at the level that he felt like he really belonged. And so I think having a guy like that he's watching really dominate most days, going through some of the same things he is, I think meant a lot to him.
Great comment from Kliff Kingsbury about Laremy Tunsil being set to make a lot of money. Yes, he is. Now, he is under contract for next season, but he this offseason almost certainly will be looking for a big money contract extension, as he'll have 1 season left on a contract extension that he signed with the Texans in March 2023. The nice thing about stud left tackles like Laremy Tunsil is that they age well. This season is Tunsil's age 31 season, but great left tackles can play well into their 30s. You don't worry about age with offensive linemen in general like you do with, say, running backs and receivers. Also playing very well in the overtime loss to the Broncos was right guard Samuel Cosmi. He, for the NFL's Next Gen Stats, over 55 pass blocks, allowed just 1 pressure. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 91.4, which is outstanding. We on Thursday morning had this exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Kliff Kingsbury.
Have you noticed Sam Cosmi getting healthier as the season has gone, and how have you seen his relationship with Josh grow, and how has that manifested itself on the field in terms of communication and being able to block up that right side?
Yeah, definitely. He's his understanding of the system is night and day, first off, from last year, just watching his comfort level with the operation, the communication at the line of scrimmage. And then I would say last week you definitely saw him more comfortable than he's been. I think he's toughed it out a little bit coming back. It's always a bit of a process the first few weeks, just confidence in the knee and playing the way that he can play. And so I thought that was a big step last week. I think that's the best game he's played and looked like the Sam that he can be.
Yeah, Sam Cosmi was on the reserve/physically unable to perform list from August 26th to October 18th. This due to a torn right ACL that he suffered in the Commanders' 45-31 win at the Detroit Lions this past January 18th in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. You never know how someone is going to come back from a torn ACL, but Sam Cosmi is doing well. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, check out BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. BGO Blind Pig is great. It is a roundtable discussion of the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of your buddies who are Commanders fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. The most recent episode has some really good conversation about how to take the overtime loss to the Broncos. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any major podcast provider. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Commanders podcast rotation. Week 14 of the NFL's 2025 regular season gives us the 3-9 Washington Commanders at the 4-8 Minnesota Vikings this Sunday afternoon at 1. We on Wednesday's show, episode 1210, got great insight on the Vikings from Vikings insider Matthew Coller of Purple Insider on Substack, the host of a very successful Vikings podcast, Purple Insider with Matthew Coller. And we right now get further high-level insight on the Vikings from a longtime friend, a fantasy football expert and Minnesota Vikings media personality, Paul Charchian. Paul is a legend in the field of fantasy football. You likely have heard Paul on podcasts and or on the radio. I first met Charch 20 years ago while doing updates for the Steve Zabin Show on Fox Sports Radio. You can follow Paul on X at Paul Charchian. He has nearly 110,000 followers on X. Charch, great to talk to you. How are you?
Well, as a Vikings fan, not great, because this is the biggest shit show we've had in years, maybe ever. I mean, we're in a really, really bad spot with this team. Last week, this team started undrafted rookie Max Brosmer. Week before, it was the sixth and what was then, the sixth start for J.J. McCarthy. Now, McCarthy had looked predominantly bad. He had a few good moments, but mostly it looked bad. Over the last two games, the Vikings have had, in each game separately, a lower passer rating than if they had spiked the ball on every down. That's how bad it is in Minnesota. It's come to this. We're better off throwing the ball into the ground than trying to throw downfield. So the team put all their chips into J.J. McCarthy. They let Sam Darnold go. In the offseason, they had four options. Al. Sam Darnold, obviously. But also Daniel Jones, who they loved. You know, they had Daniel Jones on roster for half the year. Loved Daniel Jones. They thought they could have gone to him. Aaron Rodgers lobbied to play for Minnesota. And they managed to thread the needle to J.J. McCarthy and no backup plan. And now the Vikings are really, really in a bad spot.
You on Sunday evening on X posted the following, quote, "When the Vikings inevitably do a full reset in the offseason, the next GM will need to decide if they should keep Justin Jefferson. Every part of that statement makes me sad," end quote. I do want to ask you about Justin Jefferson, but the Vikings general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he's been the team's GM since January 2022. The Vikings head coach, former Redskins offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell, he has been the Vikings head coach since February 2022. The Vikings with these guys have a regular season record of 38-25, postseason record of 0-2, but this is a second bad season in 3 seasons, 7-10 in the 2023 regular season, 4-8 in this regular season. You do think that a football operations revamping for the Vikings is coming this offseason?
Well, Kevin O'Connell is unclear. I think he's banked enough equity for O'Connell to come back, but the change at general manager has to happen. We're the worst drafting team since he's been here, and I mean orders of magnitude bad. We have almost no hits for 4 years of drafts, and you just can't survive like that. It's so bad when your team can't draft well. We all know drafting is the backbone of your team, where you get the rookie contracts, then you get to figure out who's great, who's not. The great players you get to re-sign first before anybody else can. I mean, so much is predicated on that. Vikings have just screwed it up so badly with the general manager they have. Now, they gave him a contract extension for no apparent reason. He was heading into the last year of his deal last summer. After 6 months, everybody thought I'm going to back up a little bit. Kevin O'Connell got his contract extension like March of last year. And then they waited on the GM a long time because, like I said, GM's got very few wins under his belt, but they eventually caved in the last year of his deal and gave him the extension. So, but we think the team's so bad and they've misfired so badly at quarterback that they're going to switch out of the GM they've got into somebody new. Then the question is, does that GM demand his own head coach, or does he stick with Kevin O'Connell? That'll be one of the things that we'll be tracking here as the Vikings fan base has already moved to off-season mode.
The Vikings quarterback decisions of this past offseason, allowing Sam Darnold to leave via unrestricted free agency off his really good 2024 season, allowing Daniel Jones to leave via unrestricted free agency, and going with J.J. McCarthy as the QB1 off trading up to take him with the number 10 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft out of the University of Michigan. Were Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell in agreement on those decisions?
Well, they always have said they got hired at the same time. They have said collaboration all the time. So we don't know where this kind of decision, like, we mentioned the 4 quarterbacks that they needed to parse through. We don't know where that started with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and where it ended with Kevin O'Connell. We're not sure. And, it might be years before the truth comes out on that. And one of the other things I tweeted recently was I'd love to know, how on board was Kevin O'Connell with the plan to ditch Sam Darnold and the 14 wins that Sam Darnold gave this team last year? But we don't know. At the end of the day, the general manager's got the accountability on that.
What did you this past offseason think about what the Vikings should do at quarterback?
Well, they had invested this first-round pick, 10th overall, in J.J. McCarthy. We all wanted to see what J.J. could do. I would have loved to have kept my perfect world was keep Daniel Jones as your backup plan, and then you could pivot to Daniel Jones if you needed to. Now, it sounds like the Vikings did try to keep Jones, but he correctly sussed out that he needed a starting spot somewhere. And it turned out to be in Indianapolis for him to get his career back on track, and sitting as J.J. McCarthy's backup didn't look very appealing. But as it turns out, and he's obviously doing great with Indy too. Well, mostly great. He was great early. He's doing good now. Had he stayed in Minnesota, he'd be the starting quarterback now for sure. There's no doubt about it. He would be the starting quarterback now, and Daniel Jones would probably still be getting the reps that he wanted, as it turns out.
So with J.J. McCarthy, to me, it's a funny deal. He's taking a lot of criticism for being so bad, for likely being a bust of a first-round pick, and maybe he is a bust. But the Vikings just had a guy in Sam Darnold who has become emblematic of how a first-round quarterback can go from bust to really good. That with some of these guys, it just takes time and the right situation. What do you make of J.J. McCarthy?
Yeah, the problem for McCarthy is he's not showing NFL traits. I mean, if you look at other quarterbacks who have struggled early in their career, like Josh Allen is a great example, who did very little early in his career, and he was starting to get the bust label. But there were things in his game you could look at and go, that's an NFL trait. That's an NFL passer right there. That is a passer that very few guys can do. Or with rushing in the case of Josh Allen, which is really obvious that he had unique rushing skills. For JJ, the problem is we're not seeing anything that you can build on for the at the NFL level. Everything right now is bad. The processing is slow. He's got a batted ball problem. He throws into clogged lanes. The accuracy is bad, especially when he goes on the run. The accuracy, you can't hit anything when he's on the run. It's not to say that he can't get better. And you're right. Minnesota's been a place where bad quarterbacks or medium quarterbacks have gone to get better, like Kirk Cousins, like Sam Darnold. But even Josh Dobbs may have resurrected his career as a backup and put some more years on his career as a backup. But this is the perfect spot. if you can't do it here, if you're J.J. McCarthy throwing to Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson, you're playing for the coach of the year who has mentored all these other people. Man, isn't it you? I mean, at that point, isn't it on J.J. McCarthy? Because it certainly feels that way.
The Vikings' number one receiver, heck, maybe the number one receiver in the NFL, Justin Jefferson. Is this his last season with the Vikings?
I believe unless the Vikings can very quickly get an offseason plan in place for a much better passer, he's going to want out. Jefferson is in the prime of his career. He's 26 years old. He's not going to want to fiddle away his career here under a full reboot with yet another young quarterback, whoever they're going to try to draft. The Vikings, there's so many bad teams this year. Even if the Vikings don't win another game, they're still probably drafting at like pick 10. They're not going to be sitting in a spot where they can likely go get one of the handful of elite quarterbacks that are in this draft very easily. And even if they do, how do you sell that to Justin Jefferson when you spent 2 years telling Jefferson that J.J. McCarthy was going to be the quarterback of his future? And then, so I think it's going to be I think the probability is the Vikings will trade away Justin Jefferson, just like they traded away Stephon Diggs in his prime, and they traded away Randy Moss in his prime.
Has anything beyond quarterback been a major problem for the Vikings this season?
Yeah, there's one other problem, the offensive line, and they put a lot of equity in the offensive line in the offseason. First round pick into left guard. He looks like just a guy. Then they put real equity into center and right guard. And those guys have not panned out. Our center's barely playing. He's had a bunch of concussions. And our center looks like he's just a guy. And so our offensive line has given up a ton of quarterback pressures and hurries, Al. And that's been the other problem for whoever's been our quarterback, including Carson Wentz, is an offensive line that's just getting these guys killed. Carson Wentz went through in a national Thursday night game. Or maybe it was a Monday. I don't remember anymore. He got absolutely destroyed to the point that his arm was just sort of hanging, his non-throwing arm was just sort of hanging limp at the shoulder. And he finished that game somehow and then had to get surgery on the arm and go on IR and season-ending IR. So, yeah, it's offensive line is the other big problem. And then more broadly, and I know this is doing deep dive on Viking stuff. The other big problem is when you've had 4 years of bad drafting, you don't have young talent in the system. The Vikings are an old roster built on our previous GM, Rick Spielman's draft picks. And there's just not help coming. You don't look at this roster and go, well, we got 3 young guys we really like. And if they can, when they get more playing time, they're going to be really good. It's just not. Yeah, we're just not there, unfortunately.
Much more with Paul Charchian in moments. If you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. Accident and injury lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The NACE Law Group features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients, led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979. The NACE Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The NACE Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The NACE Law Group can help you and your family make difficult decisions. The NACE Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, Accident and injury lawyers. We're talking with fantasy football expert and Minnesota Vikings media personality Paul Charchian as we get set for Commanders at the Vikings this Sunday afternoon at 1. The Vikings defensive coordinator is Brian Flores. He's doing a nice job of the Vikings for this regular season through Week 13. We're number 11 in the NFL in total defense in terms of DVOA, and we're number 10 in the NFL in total defense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. What's your assessment of the defense?
Well, the defense, it's a gambling defense, and you can basically cleave this defense in two, and you can decide where the Commanders sit on this. Generally speaking, young, inexperienced quarterbacks really struggle against the Vikings, and what Brian Flores does, he gives you all these exotic pre-snap reads. At the point that you snap the ball, he will go from one look to another look in a matter of a half a second. You thought you were pre-snap. You thought you were going to get a narrow zone. Now you're getting a 3 deep, and in the span of a few steps, all of a sudden it's changing. And young, inexperienced quarterbacks generally get bamboozled by this. But quarterbacks that have been around a while and have seen it all are generally picking this apart and have very little trouble with it. And then all the exotic stuff and all the gambling and risk taking blows up in the face of the Vikings. So if where you are with your quarterback situation, I don't think it's going to be Daniels this week, right?
It could be Jayden Daniels. He did fully practice on Thursday afternoon, but Marcus Mariota still could be the starter.
Yeah, so Mariota, and by the way, I'm not putting a T in his name in his 11th year. I'm not stressing the T, and I'm sure that's been a talker there. Mariota, to me, probably a savvy enough vet that's seen enough reps that he may not get flummoxed and bamboozled by what Brian Flores throws out there.
All right, I'm about to veer into dangerous territory, but let's do this. You were a major proponent of the Vikings in March 2018 signing Redskins unrestricted free agent quarterback Kirk Cousins, correct?
That is correct. I want it when it looked like he had the chance to leave Washington about this time of year, the year he left, whatever that was, like 2018. I started saying, I think Washington's going to be dumb enough to let Kirk Cousins go. Man, let's go get Kirk. You know, our quarterback situation was bad at that point. I would think it was a broken down Teddy Bridgewater or something. And so I'm like, let's go get Kirk. And so I started banging the drum for Kirk. Sure enough, he ended up here and then just got better every single year until he got the Achilles injury. And at the point of his Achilles injury, he was leading the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns, but obviously has not been the same guy since then. And the Vikings ultimately made the right decision to let him go.
Yeah, so I was a big fan of Kirk Cousins when he was with the Skins. I was a Kirk jerk. I believe that one of the biggest player personnel screw-ups by Washington over the last 10 years was how the team handled the entire Kirk Cousins scenario. There was and is a lot of debate about how good he truly was. The mere mention of his name in these parts triggers people in all kinds of ways. He ended up being with the Vikings for as many seasons as he was with the Skins, 6. What to you is an objective, sober, accurate depiction of his time with the Vikings?
Well, the haters, of which there are many, by the way, and I think he was every bit as divisive for the Vikings as he was for the Redskins. The haters would point at playoff wins, of which Kirk had 1. Granted, it was a epic upset over the Saints that were favored to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl that year, and he went into New Orleans and beat the Saints. But at the end of the day, you point at that. I would say, as a defender, playoff losses were not on Kirk. Kirk had good games in the playoffs, and over time, Kirk overcame all the things that he came in with. So much baggage, like can't win on prime time, can't win on Monday night, can't win in close games, can't win in the playoffs. And then he just started checking all the boxes and just winning all those games. And at the end of the day, I think I as it is right now, we're looking back fondly at the Kirk Cousins years, going, man, we had it way better than we thought we did. And I think the fan base right now would love to have Kirk Cousins from where he was like 5 years ago when we were still trashing Kirk Cousins. But man, that ability set would look awfully nice in this offense.
The state of fantasy football. We have daily fantasy. We have dynasty fantasy. We have now what is called guillotine fantasy. We, of course, have traditional season-long fantasy. What in 2025 is the most popular version of fantasy football?
Well, thank you for asking. It's still season-long with your friends. Daily fantasy there's a spot for that, and it continues to do well, but it's lost a lot of the buzz. I think when sports gambling became legal, I think a lot of the DFS crowd migrated over to that, which is fine. Play the way you want to play. But it's still, at the end of the day, we love fantasy leagues with our friends and talking around the water cooler and the text message strings. And I don't know, that's still where the fun of fantasy football is and remains for me. And that remains my focus all these years later. Guillotine leagues is kind of a cross between the two a little bit, but it's playing with your friends. Nothing better, right? And the biggest mistake, Al, that commissioners make is they don't get rid of the people that don't participate in the league. If you got people that are just quietly setting a lineup every week and they're not actively adding to the culture of the league, out. Not mid-season. You don't have to kick them out today, December. Kick them out at the end of the year.
I respect how you think. How many fantasy football leagues are you in right now?
I believe the number was so there's leagues. This is different for me than most people. I get into all these experts leagues in the preseason. Like for, this magazine is coming out. They want you to be an expert in their expert league for the magazine, stuff like that. And those I usually just don't even play out. But the ones that I'm actively managing and trying to win, I started with 17. Now in guillotine leagues, you get knocked out. Eventually, if you perform badly enough, you get knocked out. And I'm down to half of my guillotine leagues. So my total number of operating leagues right now is sitting at like 9. And that's better, but still not very manageable, if I'm being honest.
That's funny. Last question. For years, as you know, the NFL thumbed its nose and ignored fantasy football and gambling. Did you, during those years, think that we would arrive at where we are now, a time in which the NFL fully embraces fantasy football and gambling? Are you surprised at where we are at right now?
Not at all surprised, because fantasy made the NFL. I mean, it did so much for the NFL. Now, what the NFL did wrong, and very, very wrong, is 20 years ago, they did not invest into a technology platform that let people run their leagues at NFL.com. I mean, what a huge wasted opportunity. NFL.com could have been and should have been where the whole world plays fantasy football. But they ultimately screwed that up. And now it's Yahoo and ESPN and other places. When gambling was legalized, we all knew that was going to be, it's so much money that we knew all the leagues were going to jump into it, just like others around the world. Take Premier League as one example. We knew that was going to be the model. There's just way too much money, Al. The leagues are never going to turn their back to it. And, now we've got fully integrated sports betting for these leagues. And yeah, it's, I don't know. Is there a day of reckoning that comes someday? Maybe, but I don't think so. But maybe there's some scenario where some horrible things happen with something in sports betting, and there's this, this sort of awakening, like, whoa, maybe we've gone over our skis on this. But I don't think so. I just think the league goes where there's money.
Follow the money, for sure. Fantasy football expert and Minnesota Vikings media personality, Paul Charchian. Charch, thanks so much. Great to catch up.
That was a lot of fun. Great to hear your voice again. You've got one of the great radio voices of all time.
I appreciate that, man. All the best.
I'll talk to you later. Don't hesitate to reach out again.
Okay.
I'd love to do something with you again.
That would be great. All right, here is an outstanding book for you if you're a Washington fan, or for a Washington fan who you care about this holiday season. RFK All Access by Scott Cunningham, who served as a photographer for NFL properties for years and who photographed the Redskins extensively during their glory days in the 1980s and early 1990s. Scott, via RFK All Access, has put together a compilation of his best Redskins photos, many of which are behind-the-scenes photos. Joe Gibbs, Jack Kent Cook, Richie Pettibone, the Hogs, the Posse, Sonny Sam and Frank, all and so many more are featured in this book, which is 392 pages of glorious Skins history, 5 pounds of Redskins gold. If you are a serious Washington fan, if you are a Skins historian, this book is a must-have. Makes for a terrific addition to any Skins-themed man cave. Also makes for a great gift. I have the book. It is sensational. Heck, this is a book that has been endorsed by Joe Gibbs himself. Quote, "This is a great book filled with great memories," end quote. And the book now is available for an all-time low price. Take advantage of this special holiday season sale. RFK All Access. You can get the book by visiting rfkallaccess.com. And when you order the book, mention in the notes section that Al Galdi sent you. Doing that helps out this podcast a lot. That's rfkallaccess.com. rfkallaccess.com. And mention that Al Galdi sent you. I've been thinking a lot about how I want to do Rhyming Keys now that we are in the midst of Operation Lose Out 2.0. As I have said with Operation Lose Out 2.0, it does include me wanting the Washington Commanders to play well. It just also includes me being totally fine with the team losing, given that the team's realistic playoff hopes are gone and that the team can't even finish with a winning record in this 2025 NFL regular season, in which our team is just 3-9. But you know, it would be obnoxious if I, with the Commanders still having 5 games left in this regular season, did Rhyming Keys purely for a Commanders loss for each game. I don't want to spend 5 weeks coming up with keys for losses. I may do Rhyming Keys for a Commanders loss once we get to the final game or two. But for now, what I'm going to do is Rhyming Keys for the Commanders in terms of things that I want to see from the team. This is different from Rhyming Keys for a Commanders win, and also is different from Rhyming Keys for a Commanders loss. There is some nuance here, and so here we go. The 3-9 Commanders at the 4-8 Minnesota Vikings this Sunday afternoon at 1. My friends, it is that time, the time to rhyme. Rhyming Keys, these rhymes, they are not meant to be good, and they are not good. They are only meant to make a few points. In fact, we have a saying for this segment, indeed a rhyme for this segment. The saying is counterintuitive, but trust me, the saying is true. The worse the rhyme, the better the time. And so let's have a good time. Here we go. Hardcore analysis combined with scheduled fun. Rhyming Keys for the Commanders in terms of things that I would like to see from our team as we are in the midst of Operation Lose Out 2.0. Rhyming key number 1. This, for whoever is the Commanders' quarterback in this game, go to town with McLaurin, Samuel, and Brown. We don't know if the Commanders' QB1 Jayden Daniels will play in this game and what would be a return from a 3-game absence caused by a dislocated left elbow, but whether he or Marcus Mariota is the Commanders' starting quarterback in this game, it does appear as if the team, for the first time since the 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football on September 11th, will have the WR1 Terry McLaurin, the WR2 Deebo Samuel Sr., and the WR3, Noah Brown, all playing in the same game. The Commanders in this regular season have had their top 3 receivers, McLaurin, Samuel, and Brown, together for just 2 of the team's 12 games. But Noah Brown, at last, is nearing a return from a 10-game absence of being listed as dealing with groin and knee injuries. He technically is still on the reserve/injured list. McLaurin in the 27-26 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this past Sunday night was very impactful in his return of having missed 7 of the team's previous 8 games due to a twice-injured quadriceps. Brown is not McLaurin, but Brown can help a lot, and I am excited to see the Commanders' passing offense with each of its top 3 receivers, regardless of who the quarterback is. Now, the Vikings' pass defense is good. The Vikings, for this regular season through Week 13, were number 10 in the NFL in pass defense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. But we saw the Commanders, with Terry McLaurin back, have offensive success against an elite Broncos defense. Let us see what this offense does if, in fact, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and Noah Brown are all together again. And so rhyming key number one, this, for whoever is the Commanders quarterback in this game, go to town with McLaurin, Samuel, and Brown. Rhyming key for Commanders at the Vikings number two, this is for the Commanders defense. Have your way against JJ. We expect the Vikings QB1, JJ McCarthy, to be back for this game. He missed the Vikings last game, a 26-0 loss at the Seattle Seahawks this past Sunday due to a concussion, and he has been terrible. JJ McCarthy for this regular season has started just 6 of the Vikings' 12 games due to various injuries. His total QBR per ESPN is just 24.1. The Commanders have had 2 games with head coach Dan Quinn as defensive coordinator off him on November 10th, having announced having demoted Joe Witt Jr. and having taken over as defensive coordinator. And the defense in each game, while far from perfect, has shown improvement, albeit with each game against a mediocre to bad offense. Well, this is a game against a very bad offense. The Vikings for this regular season through Week 13 were number 29 out of 32 NFL teams in total offense per DVOA, and were number 29 out of 32 NFL teams in total offense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. The Commanders' defense does remain without a number of key guys, including 4 starters who are on the reserve/injured list, edge defenders Dorrance Armstrong and Dietrich Wise Jr., and cornerbacks Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos. But so much of defense in today's NFL is about who the opposing quarterback is. We have seen this Commanders defense get humiliated by good quarterbacks. Here is a chance for the Commanders defense to inflict humiliation on a quarterback who's struggling big time. And so rhyming key number 2, this for the Commanders defense, have your way against JJ. And rhyming key for Commanders at the Vikings number 3, this is for the entire Commanders team. You actually have the potential to win the turnover differential. Hey, I told you, these rhymes are not good. But one of the biggest problems for the Commanders this season has been their turnover differential, right? They, for this regular season through Week 13, were number 30 out of 32 NFL teams in turnover differential, -8. But the Vikings, they, for this regular season through Week 13, were dead last in the NFL in turnover differential, -15. This game may well be the Commanders' last good chance to have a convincing turnover battle win in a game in this regular season, because as bad as our team has been in this department, the Vikings have been much worse. And so rhyming key number 3, this for the entire Commanders team, you actually have the potential to win the turnover differential. All right, it is prediction time. The consensus line per Action Network for this game as of Thursday afternoon was Commanders +2. As we, for this game, have had line movement, Washington just a few days ago was a small favorite. This game and the Commanders' next game, which is at the New York Giants on Sunday afternoon, December 14th at 1, are the Commanders' 2 best chances for wins the rest of this regular season. Our team, as you may have heard, has lost 7 consecutive games. I am taking the Commanders +2. I am predicting a Commanders win and an end to the losing streak. Final score, Commanders 23, Vikings 17. However, if the Commanders do some good things but happen to lose, I won't exactly be mad, okay? This is a tricky game for Operation Loseout 2.0. By the way, the Commanders have been eliminated from wildcard contention. They have not been eliminated from NFC East contention, though that could change as soon as Sunday. The Commanders will be eliminated from NFC East contention if either of the following scenarios happens. A, the Commanders lose or tie at the Vikings. B, the NFC East leading and 8-4 Philadelphia Eagles win or tie in their game at the 8-4 Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football this Monday night at 8:15. Catering by Uptown. It provides catering to perfection. Whatever event you're planning, a wedding, a holiday party, whatever, visit cateringbyuptown.com. Mention that Al Galdi sent you and see what Catering by Uptown can do for you. Catering by Uptown provides both great service and a great price. Catering by Uptown is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Commanders fans and loyal supporters of this podcast. Catering by Uptown specializes in handling everything so that you don't have to. Catering by Uptown understands that special events deserve to be celebrated in style and thus takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. Great service, amazing cuisine, and reliability are the foundation of what makes Catering by Uptown one of the most referred caterers throughout Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. And know this, if you go to cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can set up your own personal tour of one of Catering by Uptown's premier venues, including outstanding waterfront venues. Catering by Uptown offers the ability to coordinate services at over 100 of the best reception halls, vineyards, farms, historic homes, event venues, banquet facilities, and wedding venues in the area. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. All right, time now to talk college football. Time now for Goldilocks. My picks for the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region: Maryland, Navy, Virginia Tech, Virginia, James Madison, Old Dominion, and Liberty. You surely have heard of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Well, this is Goldilocks, which helps you, as the great Snoop Dogg once said, make money, money.
Make money, money, make money, money, money.
That's right, Snoop. Make money, money. We have arrived at week 15 of the 2025 college football season, what is Conference Championship Weekend, and it includes games for 2 of the 7 FBS teams of our region. I'll give you my picks, and then we'll discuss what exactly we have here, and I have some thoughts on recruiting news this week. The betting lines that I'm using are consensus lines per Action Network as of Thursday morning. Number 17, Virginia versus Duke at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday night at 8 in the ACC Championship game. The Cavaliers minus 3.5. Give me Virginia. And number 25, James Madison, home to Troy, Friday night at 7 in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. The Dukes minus 23.5. Give me Troy. It is going to be so interesting to see what we get from James Madison on Friday night. JMU head coach Bob Chesney is becoming UCLA head coach. That news broke via multiple reports on Monday afternoon, but the reporting is that Chesney will coach JMU for the rest of its season. This is not a Lane Kiffin situation in which Ole Miss told him to get out after he decided to leave to become LSU's head coach. Will James Madison on Friday night be inspired and motivated and play well and dominate Troy a la that 23.5 point spread? Or is JMU now a fractured team on which a bunch of guys are about to enter the NCAA transfer portal? And by the way, we now know JMU's next head coach. Multiple reports on Thursday evening that JMU is hiring former Florida head coach Billy Napier as head coach. I like this hire. Billy Napier was fired by Florida in October. He knows the Sun Belt Conference well. He was Louisiana's head coach for the 2018 through 2021 seasons. But there's also this. James Madison can make the college football playoff. The 5th installment of the college football playoff rankings for this season came out this past Tuesday night. Virginia up 1 spot to number 17. James Madison in at number 25. First time ever that JMU is ranked in the CFP rankings. And what is so funny here is that if you are James Madison, you are rooting hard against Virginia on Saturday night because a UVA loss to Duke in the ACC championship game very much opens up the possibility of the ACC getting no teams in the college football playoff, allowing for James Madison, if it beats Troy on Friday night, to make the 12-team playoff. We in college football have the Power 4 conferences and the Group of 6 conferences. So the Power 4 conferences are the Big 10, SEC, Big 12, and ACC. The Group of 6 conferences are the Pac-12, AAC, Sun Belt Conference, Conference USA, Mid-American Conference, and Mountain West Conference. Amazing, isn't it, that the Pac-12 now is grouped with the Mid-American Conference, but such is the current state of college football. But understand this about the college football playoff. the top 5 conference champions are guaranteed automatic bids, but the language is top 5 conference champions. In other words, could be Power 4 conference champions, could be Group of 6 champions. In theory, the top 5 conference champions to receive automatic bids could be Group 6 champions. Not that that realistically could ever happen, but there is no guarantee that the ACC will get a team in the college football playoff. That Duke is in this ACC championship game is crazy. Duke for this season is just 7-5 overall, but the Blue Devils, thanks to the ACC being a bloated conference and having a complicated set of tiebreakers, are in the ACC championship game. But if Duke upsets Virginia, it is very possible, if not probable, that the ACC does not get a single team in the college football playoff, opening the door for James Madison if it defeats Troy. I am a Maryland fan. I went to Maryland. I also root for Navy. My dad was in the Navy, but I have nothing against the other teams of our region. I like seeing those teams do well. I'm happy for Virginia for what it has done this season. UVA, via the preseason media poll, was picked to finish 14th in the 17-team ACC. Instead, UVA now is in the ACC championship game. Also, UVA head coach Tony Elliott, he on Thursday afternoon was named ACC Coach of the Year. But I would be lying if I said that there isn't a big part of me that would love the chaos of the ACC not getting a single team in the college football playoff, and James Madison with a departing head coach making the playoff. That would be wild, and that happening isn't that implausible. Virginia just a 3.5-point favorite over Duke. UVA did win at Duke just a few weeks ago, a 34-17 win at Duke on November 15th. While we're talking college football, so Friday is the final day of the 3-day early signing period for college football recruits. 2 items to be aware of regarding the teams of our region. First of all, Maryland head coach Mike Locksley, who is known as a great recruiter, he has pulled off a massive get. Maryland signed edge defender Zion Ely out of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. Zion Ely actually committed to Maryland a year ago, December 2024, but he did so as a junior in high school. You didn't know if that would hold. It did. Zion Ely is a consensus 5-star recruit. He, per ESPN, is the number 2 overall player in the country in terms of high school players. He, per 24/7 Sports, is Maryland's highest rated recruit of all time, supplanting receiver Stephon Diggs. Give credit where credit is due. Zion Ely, a huge get from Mike Locksley. Also, Virginia Tech's new head coach, James Franklin, he is killing it in recruiting. Are you aware of this? So Franklin was officially hired as Tech head coach on November 17th, this off having been fired as Penn State head coach on October 12th. He flipped a bunch of Penn State recruits to Tech. He is receiving universal praise for the class that he's putting together. Check this out. Franklin, as of Thursday morning, had lifted a Tech recruiting class that once sat at number 124 in the 24/7 Sports composite team recruiting rankings, all the way to number 22. How about that? From number 124 to number 22. Tech made such a good hire in hiring James Franklin as head coach. You got to wonder if Penn State now regrets having fired Franklin, given the trouble that Penn State has had in finding a new head coach. And, you think about Tech's 2025 season, as bad as it was, it may have been for the best. Because Tech firing Brent Pry as head coach in September allowed for Tech to get an early start on a head coaching search, and the Hokies got themselves James Franklin off him having been fired in October.
I'm a high note hitting songbird, but I'm also a bird watching backpacker.
Oh, wood thrush, 3 o'clock.
Walmart has a wellness side too, with tons of things I need to feel good, from electrolytes to help keep me hydrated to soothing cough drops for after every show.
Oh, man, how about waterproof boots? Size 10?
They've got 500 million things online, on the app, and in store.
Really? Who knew? Okay, was that you or the birds?
Check out the wellness side of Walmart today.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
Our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards on Thursday night put forth maybe their single worst performance in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season, and that's saying something. They fell to 3-18 with a 146-101 loss to the Boston Celtics at Capital One Arena on Thursday night. Yes, a 45-point loss. Now, the Wizards right now are without 4 key players. Bilal Coulibaly did not play due to a strained right oblique that he suffered in the Wizards' 121-102 loss at the Philadelphia 76ers this past Tuesday night. Alex Sarr did not play for a 3rd consecutive game due to right adductor soreness. Trey Johnson did not play for a 6th consecutive game due to a left hip flexor strain. And Corey Kispert did not play for a 4th consecutive game due to a right thumb injury. The Wizards right now basically have no chance in games. But still, what happened on Thursday night was something. The Wizards never held a lead. The Wizards lost the second half 80-42, and this all happened despite the Celtics being without their 2 superstars. So no Jaylen Brown due to illness and no Jason Tatum due to a ruptured right Achilles that he suffered this past May. The Wizards' defense was horrendous. They allowed the Celtics to score 146 points, go 20 for 47 on threes and 34 for 52 on twos, and have 35 assists versus 10 turnovers. And the Wizards' offense was really bad. They went just 10 for 31 on threes and just 25 for 53 on twos and had 21 assists versus 18 turnovers. Look, I am a Wizards fan who is all in on the tank. I do not get mad about losses right now, but this loss was a special kind of bad. There's no doubt about that. This was Wizards head coach Brian Keefe during his postgame press conference on Thursday night, and then you'll hear 2 follow-up exchanges between Wizards insider Josh Robbins of The Athletic and Keefe, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Wizards insider Bijan Todd of Monumental Sports Network and Keefe.
The second half was not a representative of what we want to be like and who we have been lately. We have to own that, and we got to buckle down and get better and get ready for the next game, but that was not up to our standard tonight.
Brian, given that there were a lot of injuries and giving players opportunities for bigger roles, how do you explain the lack of energy, the lack of effort?
Don't have the answer for that. That's something we're going to have to dig into. I think we all have to own that, myself included, all of us together. We're in this together. Take a look at where we faltered. But that was plainly obvious that didn't reach the standard of our play. It's something we can address. We look at it tomorrow, and we'll get back to work, and we'll be better on Saturday.
After a night like this, would you consider wholesale changes to the rotation to make a point that you want a certain standard met game in, game out?
Yeah, the problem is we've been actually reaching that pretty much lately. And tonight we had a step back. We had to reevaluate what we're doing. Now we have to look ourselves in the mirror, as we always do here. We're not ever pointing fingers. We never talk about people not being in the lineup. We come here to play, and we didn't have that necessary force that we have been playing with lately.
Coach, when you say it didn't meet the standards, is that speaking about effort?
We have a certain expectation of how we want to play, and I think we have seen this lately that we can play physical, we can defend, we can disrupt people, we can really move the ball and share it, and we play with a certain pace. I didn't see those things out there in the game. You can call that what that is, but it's just the way we play, and I didn't see our identity of how we played basketball, and that's not acceptable.
No, it's not. Next up for the Wizards is one game this weekend, home to the Atlanta Hawks, Saturday night at 7. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1213. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. In-depth reaction to and analysis of their game at the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday afternoon at 1. Also on Monday's show, I'll discuss college football, the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, and college basketball. We have college football conference championship weekend, which includes Number 17, Virginia versus Duke at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday night at 8 in the ACC Championship game. And number 25, James Madison, home to Troy, Friday night at 7 in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. And we on Sunday will learn of the college football playoff teams and of bowl games for teams. 4 of the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region are bowl eligible: Virginia, James Madison, Navy, and Old Dominion. The Caps, they have 2 games this weekend at the Anaheim Ducks Friday night at 10 and home to the Columbus Blue Jackets Sunday night at 7. The Wizards have 1 game this weekend, home to the Atlanta Hawks Saturday night at 7. And college basketball this weekend includes Georgetown at number 16 North Carolina Sunday evening at 5, Maryland at Iowa Saturday afternoon at 4 in the Terrapins Big Ten opener for this regular season, Virginia Tech home to George Mason Saturday afternoon at 3, and Virginia home to Dayton Saturday at noon. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
Kliff, what sort of impact have you seen from Laremy Tunsil overall this season? I know he has a history of playing well, but now that you've seen him up close on a day.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. More than I could have ever expected, I'd say. Just the type of person, the type of character, the way he works, the way he leads the young guys, and it's been phenomenal. And the play speaks for itself. You'd be hard to find one that's played better at that position this season. So he's going to get a lot of money.
I'm a high note hitting songbird, but I'm also a bird watching backpacker.
Wood thrush, 3 o'clock.
Walmart has a wellness side too, with tons of things I need to feel good, from electrolytes to help keep me hydrated to soothing cough drops for after every show.
Oh, man. How about waterproof boots? Size 10?
They've got 500 million things online, on the app, and in store.
Really? Who knew? Okay, was that you or the birds?
Check out the wellness side of Walmart today.